Welcome to the only daily podcast focusing on compliance news of the day. Each morning, start your day with a cup of coffee and Tom Fox, the voice of compliance, to hear about 4 of the top compliance, corruption, or leadership stories you will need to start your day. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network.
The Daily Compliance News for April 7, 2021, the $4.7 billion hit edition. And we begin with that story from Bloomberg as Credit Suisse has taken a $4.7 billion hit from the Archegos imbroglio and collapse. Credit Suisse emerged as the biggest loser to date in the global investment bank's race to exit following the implosion of Archegos Capital Management, with the fiasco leading to a quarterly loss and major shakeup at the top of the Swiss bank. The firm will take a $4.7 billion write-down tied to its exposure, forcing it to cut its dividend and suspend share buybacks. The company's investment bank head and chief risk officer were among the more than half dozen executives replaced over the worst trading debacle in over a decade. While Credit Suisse was far from the only bank that allowed Bill Wang's family to leverage up, it raised questions about how the CEO handles the firm's risk. Next, we have a couple of stories that are an interesting potential shift in a very old calculus, and that is that the American corporate community is now becoming the party of Democrats. For decades, corporate America was seen as the natural ally of the Republican Party, but as companies are increasingly using their clout to speak out on social issues, a rift has emerged. And yesterday, Mitch McConnell said that companies should only donate money, but they should keep their mouths shut. Well, that's sort of antithetical to not only an American tradition, but the corporate right to do so. But the fight over voting rights has broken traditional alignments. So even Jamie Dimon said, "My heart is Democratic, but my brain is kind of Republican." Well, now Republicans are threatening the bottom lines of companies, such as weaponizing tax codes and taking away tax benefits. This could portend a major shift in the political calculus in the United States, literally for generations. And along with that, Amazon's Jeff Bezos backs a tax rise in companies. Comments by the world's richest man came as Joe Biden is pushing to raise the corporate income tax from 21% to 28%. The rise would help pay for the massive spending plan to upgrade American infrastructure. Biden singled out Amazon as a company that paid too little, and Amazon announced its support to focus on infrastructure and called on both Democrats and Republicans to work together to fix these. Of course, the Republicans have announced that they're not going to support anything that any Democrat puts forward, so doubt that's going to be any help. And finally, from the Wall Street Journal Risk and Compliance Journal, Dylan Tokar reports that a former Gunvor employee has pled guilty in the Ecuadorian bribery scheme. Former employee of the European energy trading group Gunvor has pled guilty to participating in a bribery scheme involving Ecuador's state-owned oil company. Raymond Kuhot pled guilty Tuesday to a single count of money laundering at a plea held in federal court. The statement said that he worked with 2 of his supervisors and independent business consultants to funnel millions of dollars to bribes to Ecuadorian officials to win business from Petroecuador. Prosecutors separately said that the payment involved some $22 million in bribes. The Gunvor said it is cooperating with the Department of Justice, and of course it's learned about these charges. No word on what the company may be doing. The company has taken steps to voluntarily terminate its relationship with the former agent, allegedly before the government investigation. So if you're in the trading business, in the energy trading business, these are very big wake-up calls. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network and a proud member of C-Suite Radio. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you'll join me again tomorrow.